So we appreciate everybody joining us today. This is our third and final preparatory webinar for international students for Valparaiso University for fall 2022. So if you're a student at any stage of the process, maybe you are admitted, still waiting for your visa interview, maybe you have your visa already, I think you're going to get a lot out of this. And even some of you who might be just, you didn't get your visa interview in time for this fall, you're looking to defer, there's still going to be a lot of great information. So we're going to cover the whole gamut of information, helpful stuff from the start of the process through arrival steps. And the presenters today, my name's Ryan Segally. I'm the Director of Graduate Enrollment Operations. So I work with all of our graduate students, international students, and domestic. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, Andrew Knox. So I'm the Senior Coordinator in the International Student Services Office. So the International Student Services Office really is a bridge to you for a lot of different things. So we can, the thing that you come to us for, that we would say we're the experts on campus, is the immigration details, the I-20, DS 2019, that kind of stuff, to help you maintain your legal status. But then we're a bridge for all kinds of other things. So a student has a question about culture, we have lots of resources that we really enjoy helping students through, and that kind of thing. And if they have a question about grad coursework, then we send them to the grad school or the health center. And so we just really view ourselves as a bridge to help you acclimate and really have a comfortable and successful time here at Valpo. My personal background, I actually grew up in East Asia. So I grew up in Japan and China. Well, I didn't grow up in China, but I grew up in Japan, and then I came back to the US for college, and then I went to China and I taught English for a little bit there, and then I came to Valpo. So I'm used to those cross-Pacific flights. So
yeah, I haven't had to fly that far in my life yet. Farthest I've flown is Ireland. That was it. And that was really just like as close as the other coast of the United States was, almost. Not too bad.
yeah, well, a little farther, but
A little farther, but
yeah.
Well, and joining us, hopefully, but we'll see. We're all very busy at this time, even though it's summer in the United States. Most people are off. Staff at universities are still working very hard. So Jes Janssen, Senior Assistant Director of Admission and Financial Aid, she'll join us here at some point. She works with our undergrad international student population, and she also does a dual role with Financial Aid Office. So let's talk a little bit about the agenda for today. We're going to cover a few things. Quick COVID-19 update. I'm almost at the point of taking this off our agenda, actually, because it's something we're just so used to at this point in the country, and the situation is not bad at all anymore. You see it, you still live with it a little bit, but there's nothing really serious going on, at least in our area, regarding COVID-19. But then we'll talk a little bit more about why Valpo. Good things about Valpo as you continue to make your decision about where you want to study abroad. Hopefully that's with us, but we know that some of you have a lot of choices still to work through, and you have a lot of decisions to make as you fully commit to studying abroad, right? There's still time here to change your mind, and there's still time to commit and confirm your mind. So we'll talk a little bit about why Valpo. We'll prepare for visa interviews. So talk a little bit about visa interview preparation, because I know a few students who still have interviews coming up towards the end of the month, probably even some in August, and then just a handful right there at the very last minute. So I know a lot of you are still in the process of preparing, so we'll cover some things having to do with that. Then we'll talk a little bit more about arrival details, housing, orientation, and we'll leave time at the end for questions and answers. So I know we had a lot of questions submitted to the event. We'll try to get through some of those, and I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of questions asked during the event. So we'll try to answer as many as we can. Feel free to type questions in the chat box, and we'll get to them as we can. We'll answer questions in the box throughout, or we'll address them as they come up. But mostly we're probably gonna try to leave those to the end and then just try to answer them all at once. So let's see, let's go ahead and start a little bit about COVID-19. Still require all students to be vaccinated. The university is now mask optional. And so all classes, well, not all classes, but we're back in person. We've been in person for a while now. And we do have some remote classes, some online courses, hybrid coursework. It's international students. You're still going to be required to take the majority of your coursework in person, but you'll be happy to know it's a very safe environment now. It's a very normal environment, probably the closest we've ever been to the time pre-pandemic. So we're actually quite returned to normal now, but you can learn more about it by visiting our website, valpo.edu/looking forward. And you can learn more about what vaccines are approved. We anticipate a lot of people are already vaccinated, and most of the vaccines we accept as long as they're on the WHO list. So let's talk a little bit about Valparaiso. We'll talk about Valparaiso, the university, Valparaiso, the city, and the experience. First of all, location. So, choose a lot of different universities, and universities have a lot of different great things going for them. But one of the big things about them is where they're located. And at Valparaiso, we have the best of both worlds as far as the American experience goes. So you have smaller Midwest, very safe, very interesting Americana aspect with the city of Valparaiso, which is a city of, I don't know what the population is, Andrew, what is it? 30-ish thousand?
Yeah, 35 in Valpo.
Right.
But if you go into like the Northwest Indiana, so towns within about 20 minutes, I think the population is as much as, what is it? 500,000, something like that.
Yeah.
So
we're like a nice little nook, but Northwest Indiana is actually pretty densely populated once you get a little bit west of us. And then you're starting to approach kind of the Chicagoland area, as we refer to it. Of course, the center of which is Chicago, which is the third largest metropolitan area in the United States. So it's a hub of commerce, it's a hub of culture, it's America at its finest, but it's also international. So there are all kinds of things to do, right? We'll talk a little bit more in detail about that in a second, but we'll talk also about professional preparation that we offer here at Valpo. So we have a career center like many universities have, right? We have resources on campus. You have the Office of International Programs, and how they help you as a student, not just here, when you're studying, but even after you graduate and you move on to your OPT, your internships, even if you leave entirely and you're just an alumni, we have a lot of resources here for you as a student. And what makes us different than other universities is you see a level of care and concern for our students that is so individualized, so personalized, that I don't think many universities can offer this. Maybe smaller universities will be able to offer it, but we're at a nice mid-size for a university, and so we can still provide you with individualized attention while still giving you large access to resources, right? We're a good sized university, but we're still very personalized for our students. We care about each student individually, and we support them all through their studies and beyond. We're affordable, and we offer a lot of value for quality. So I've looked at tuition rates for other universities. I've had students approach me, say, okay, well, I've got these offers from these other big public universities, and can you match them, or how do you do on that, right? And honestly, when you look and dig down into the details, I find that we're one of the most affordable, cheapest options you can actually access at the graduate level. So it's a different story for undergrad, right? It's going to be still very affordable, I would say, but certainly at the graduate level, we're one of the most affordable universities for our level of quality and for our profile as being a private liberal arts 4-year prestigious university to attend, right? So we offer a lot of value for that. You get a lot out of it. You get access to this wonderful university, this wonderful campus, these resources, this prime location where you're only an hour away from a major metropolitan area and all the opportunities that has, but you also get the experience of kind of Midwest America with the safety that is involved with that, with the kind of more comfortable pace of life, I don't want to even say that, we're quite close to rural areas. We are, so you can even go out into the countryside, really. That's very close by to us. So if you ever get tired of the urban sprawl, there's plenty of opportunities to experience a much slower pace of living, much more comfortable kind of lifestyle out here too. So resources on campus, we talked a little bit about that. And the Valpo experience, which is really a highly individualized, highly personalized experience, one that cares about our international students, treats them as valuable, if not more so than our own domestic students. And we have worked with so many international students over time, and you can testify to this too, Andrew. We have so much experience in this regard that we really appreciate the experience of the international student, people who study abroad, people who go to that length to leave their home country, travel halfway across the world, and then, do things that are kind of scary, studying in a strange land in a language that may not be your home language, but one that you still have some experience with. And we appreciate that. We understand how that goes for a lot of our students, how difficult and challenging it can be, and also how rewarding it can be. Because we've seen our international students arrive, we've seen them graduate, we've seen them go on to do great things. I know recently we just had a student from Nigeria who just graduated, where hopefully he can come back in time for his commencement. He had to leave early, unfortunately, but we're hopeful he can join us for commencement this fall in December. And he just got a job as an information security analyst at PepsiCo. And so really great to see these kinds of things happen. We applaud our students. They go on to do great things.
Yeah. I mean, I work with all the numbers and all the list of international student rosters that we have every semester here in the international office. So as a result of that, I can see all this information about students that have been here for for the past 20 years or so. And it's so neat to look at that, to see where students have come from back in the 90s, the 80s, 2000s. And so I would say that Valpo has a very long tradition of having large groups of international students. Back in the 90s and 2000s, the numbers that we had of international students at that time were very similar to what we have now. They were between 200 and 300 students, international students every year, every semester. And it's been a long tradition of really guiding the international students through their experience and having them, give us so much input and cultural diversity and all that kind of thing. So Valpo has a long tradition of internationals.
And a lovely one too, just woven into the fabric of the university at this point. I see we raised hand from Azhar, so if it's a quick question, feel free, go ahead or type it in the box. We'll be happy to answer any questions along the way too. So let's see. Let's go ahead and just move forward here a little bit. And let's return to that topic of location. And this is a little cross section you see here in this photo, just the different experiences, primarily at Chicago, right? So you have Lakeshore. We're located right next to one of the Great Lakes of North America, which is Lake Michigan. You can see it in that photo there. Chicago butts up right against it. It's a lake that's so large, we call it a Great Lake, right? It's like a sea almost. You go there and it stretches as far as the eye can see. And so there's a lovely experience there to be had. Of course, in Indiana too, we have the National State Park, the Dunes, which is wonderful beaches there during the summer, great kind of nature and wildlife experiences over there that you can have. So you see the artwork here, the Bean, as it's called in Chicago too. This is the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. So that's the CSO there playing at Soldier Field, where the Chicago Bears, one of the big football teams, plays, and there's the Cadillac Palace Theater. And that's kind of a little cross section just in and of itself, right? You have this little slice of all kinds of things going on in Chicago, and all kinds of experiences you can have, restaurants you can eat at, and not just experiences, but opportunities as well. So it is a major business area, right? So there's plenty of opportunities up there, plenty of places to look into. So I think that really you can't really ask for more without living in the city itself. And of course, a lot of people find that incredibly expensive at this point, very challenging to manage. And, in addition to that, Chicago has a few minor safety concerns. So it's a great place to visit and go to. But I find that it's a lot nicer to actually live somewhere else, right? So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and admit Jes Janssen here. Looks like she made it. I don't know, Andrew, if you want to tell us anything about your favorite piece of Chicago here.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as my favorite piece of Chicago, I think the international towns. Now I say town, it's not like a separate town, but the international areas of Chicago. Chinatown is a really historic place in Chicago, a long history of Chinese immigrants and Chinese restaurants and all that kind of thing. I lived in China, so I love to get real Chinese food. And then I've really come to appreciate the Indian and the South Asian food and South Asian culture. And so there's Devon Street, and it's basically like you're stepping into India. I guess I haven't been to India yet, but just most people you see around there are South Asian people, and the restaurants, from what the students say, are really amazing. So that's really two of my favorite places to go in Chicago. I think that the location of Valpo is a really neat thing, a really special thing. Now, we're not going to make some claim that we're like better than, this university or that university. But every university has their advantage in the location. But I think you can really appreciate and really latch onto the special location of Valpo, because you have Chicago on one hand, between an hour to hour and a half away. You have any kind of international food you can want. You have the airport. That's a huge thing. One of the biggest airports in the world is in Chicago. So you have direct flights from everywhere right there. And then, you have the rural setting, the farmland setting. Actually, yesterday, my wife and I took a day off and we went to the rural tourist area about an hour to the east of Valpo. And it's kind of a farming community, really special community. And you can see a lot. I went to a livestock auction. So that's where they sell sheep and goats and cows and things like that. And it's just really neat to be able to experience that side. And so Valpo's right in the middle of that. And then beyond just the fun things you can do, I think Ryan will talk about it in a minute, but there's a lot of, businesses that make the Midwest their headquarters. And Valpo actually has some pretty significant companies too. So there's a lot of professional opportunities you have right in this area. So,
and it's actually fun. We talk a lot about Chicago, but Northwest Indiana also has this reputation as the crossroads of America, because we're just located right there in the heart of things. And actually within, a day's drive, you can get to several major cities, which would be like Indianapolis, the capital of the state of Indiana, right? You could make it to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to Detroit, Michigan. You could go to Wisconsin, to Milwaukee. So there's all these different areas really that are really close by, within striking distance of anybody here. So, and it gives you a really nice overview really of the Midwest. You could go to a lot of different places in this kind of Great Lakes region and experience a lot of different things. You don't have to go very far. You could just even stay in Valparaiso, where we have a lovely downtown area with a lot of historic places around it. We have a Memorial Opera House that stages plays and other performances. There's a lovely pavilion in our downtown area. So you have a really great access to a lot of things here, especially if you're going to stay nearby campus. And of course, the campus itself has a lot of fun things going on, right? So there's a whole lot going here. I see Jes has made it in. So Jes, would you like to introduce yourself? I'd like to make sure I get.
Of course. Sorry for being a little late this morning. Technical difficulties
Okay.
COVID still hasn't helped in that matter sometimes. But I am Jes Janssen. I am the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions and Financial Aid, and I work with all of our undergraduate international students currently. So I've been the one that our students have been emailing and working through the visa process. So I'm super excited to be here with you this morning or this evening with where you're at. And also just to help you realize that Valpo is an extraordinary community that supports our students. And since we're on the location tab, we are in the perfect location, in my opinion. It is one of the best things I always tell my students that I love about Valpo, because we're close to Chicago, we're right in the middle of the country, but also too, we are not too far from the Indiana Dunes National Park. So we have access to beaches and one of the 5 Great Lakes, really great outdoor activities, going to the beach, hiking, being outside. It's just a really, really great area to be able to explore and call home. So, and that definitely leads us into why Valpo. Location is definitely a good reason why, but I'll turn it back over to Ryan.
Okay. Well, so I mean, yeah, location is great, but there's a whole lot else going on here. And just like Andrew was saying earlier, we've had international students for a long time. So of course we have these established things on campus. We officially, part of our mission to promote cultural exchange and it just be a broadening experience for students from the local region, from nationwide, from around the world. We have the Office of International Programs, we have Visa, the Valpo International Student Association, a lot of different student associations. So there's always a place for an international student to fit in at Valpo. And then these other kind of functions we've put on, which maybe Andrew, you're the best person to talk about some of these. So if you want to go.
I think that probably the favorite thing that probably all of us, but especially me and my colleagues in the internet that work directly in the international office, we love the cultural celebrations. We love to help you with your I-20 and your immigration and all that, but we just really love to celebrate the culture of all the different students that we have here on campus. And so we have things like the Diwali festival, usually in the fall, October, November, right? And then we have the Chinese New Year's celebration, and whatever that is, January, February, and Moon Festival in September. And we have 2 events, the World Banquet, that's a kind of a gala performance event, that's usually in February. And then we have a food bazaar in September, that's not listed here, but that's when any international student who wants to can cook food from their country. We give a certain stipend for that, maybe $100, and they can cook a large portion of food from their country, and they can sell that food at this fair that the university has. And it's just a really amazing time where students from all over the world are selling amazing food from their country. And so I think that's a really special thing. At Valpo, it's a pretty small school compared to a big state school like Ohio State or Michigan State or Indiana. So you have the opportunity to get involved in these things. I think you probably have more opportunity than you would have at a really large school where you have 1,000 students from your country. Valpo, you really have an opportunity. You have no excuse why you can't get involved in not just the cultural celebrations, but other kinds of organizations as well.
That's one of the great things about it, right? Because like even the Valpo International Student Association, right? That's a place that's got a lovely president kind of running it right now, whoever's the chair of that.
Anand from Nepal was the president last year, and there's another guy, I think he's also from Nepal, that will be president this coming year. Mm-hmm. And we have students, we have Japanese student, one from Zimbabwe that will be on the board next year.
And it's great. They get to have a say in campus and the governance. They can help, provide their opinion, look out for the concerns of international students, but also have a role to play in promoting that cultural exchange. So you have these opportunities to participate. And it is a more meaningful method of participating, and not just, as students, but also in your majors, in your programs. You're going to find we have smaller class sizes, right? So you're not going to necessarily always be in a lecture hall with 100, 200 other students where you're just kind of lost in the crowd. You're going to be right there in front of other students. You can talk to them directly. You can talk to the professors. You'll be taught by professors. You're not going to be taught by teaching assistants. So you have a very intimate, personalized experience where you get to really find yourself, really develop yourself, and develop these leadership skills that we like to inculcate in our students at Valpo. And of course, we have excellent rankings. Every year these come out. We're routinely ranked one of the best colleges, one of the top colleges in the Midwest, one of the most affordable colleges, one of the best programs. So we are a highly ranked university. You can look us up on any kind of ranking site you want, and just to see how we stack against other universities. I know one popular one that I'm going to look into is Niche, where I think we have like an A- grade. It's a very high ranking over there. But let's talk a little bit about visa interviews, get into the meat of the webinar here, because I know we're already getting some good questions here, students who are in the process. So any questions that have to do with programs, and I know we get a lot of these, please email me at my email address if you're a graduate student, Ryan.Segally at valpo.edu. Be happy to provide you with information that will probably be of service to you if you're getting ready for your visa interview. It's a little hard for us to get into the details in a webinar here, but we do have a lot of we answer these questions a lot, so we do have stuff that we can provide you via email. It'll be of service to you. But some basics on preparation for your visa interview. Pay your CVIS fee. If you haven't paid it already, that's something you have to do, right? So you have to get that out of the way. Earlier you pay it, the better. You can start scheduling your visa interview. So I hope everybody on this call has already done that. If you haven't, now's the time to get in there and start the process. Be sure to keep a copy of your receipt. And the earlier you do it, the better. Of course, this is our third and final webinar, right? So we're really late in the cycle. Hopefully everybody here has already gone through that step, and they're at the point of having their visa interview coming up, or maybe they've already gotten their visa. But if you're still waiting for your interview, be sure you bring your documents, your passport, CVIS fee receipt, your I-20, financial documents, et cetera, and your admission letter, of course, is pretty important. But yeah, definitely have all your documents in order and ready for your interview. So about that interview, and it is a challenging thing to do. It's probably the most challenging step for a lot of students before they come here, because unlike with most other things, right? I mean, of course, you went through the admission process. If you were admitted, that itself was challenging, but then you also have this one final test that you kind of have to get over and get approved for a visa before you can travel. Everything else is pretty straightforward, right? Buying plane tickets, making arrangements, travel, all that kind of thing. But the visa interview is always the one step where a lot of students are going to face difficulties. A lot of students are going to get denied. I know I've already got one student here in the comments or the chat who's mentioned that he was denied for his visa just recently. And so I think I'm going to give my, singular advice at the start here, especially since we're late in the cycle. Maybe a lot of students are going to be facing this same dilemma. But remember this, that the number one thing in your visa interview is going to be persistence, right? Because you might get denied, you might get rejected on your first try, your second try, your third try. But ultimately, the only thing that's going to stop you from getting a visa, in my opinion, is yourself. And that has to do with if you give up on it, if you decide it's too much work or it's never going to happen, if you get discouraged, that's the one thing that's going to be able to stop you. Because otherwise, I know lots of students who, if they just kept at it, some students are great, they get it on the first try, some on the second, and then there's been some students who got rejected, and then on their fifth or sixth try, they got it, right? And then all of a sudden, things opened up again, right? So definitely stay persistent. Do not be discouraged. And I know especially some places, we get a lot of this in Africa, in Nigeria, students are often rejected. Visa interviews are often far out into the future. It's very hard to secure those interviews. So, the same recommendations we would apply to a lot of other students apply here. Request an emergency interview, do what you can to try to bump up the date. Applying for student visa is an acceptable reason for an emergency request. So you can put that in, you can, try to get an earlier date if you can. If you can't, it's fine. We can always defer admission. So just communicate with us. Let us know when it's going to happen for you. And if you get rejected, let us know. We can also defer your admission, work on the next start date. And it's not uncommon. You're not alone. A lot of other students are in the same exact boat, right? We hear this all the time, especially from Africa, especially from Nigeria, that, we've been rejected and I don't know, it's not going to happen. The date's really far out. So we anticipate that a lot for African students, and we don't give up on you either. So if you keep at it, we're going to keep at supporting you. I've deferred admissions, I don't know, a whole lot of times for a lot of students, right? It doesn't generally cost us much except our time, but it's something that we've done, and we stick with you as long as you want to stick with it. So keep at it is my advice. But here are some general bullet points. Establish ties to your country. It's a visitor visa, right? Well, not a visitor visa, but it's a non-immigration visa. So you're not intending to immigrate to the United States on an F1 student visa. You have to make sure that you're establishing ties to your country in your interview, that the purpose of your education is to go abroad, study, develop that experience, even the work experience right after graduation, and bring that back to your home country, right? And then that helps your home country. That, allows you to share the knowledge, share the information, the experiences you got, and then hopefully improve things, right? So that helps. Interview is going to be in English, and it's going to be very quick. It'll be 5-6 questions, right? So that can be as short as just, why this university, why this program that you're studying, who's funding your studies, very pointed questions. So be prepared. But, if it's going to be English, it's going to be over before you know it. You're going to spend a lot of time preparing for it probably, and it's going to just happen in a snap. Speak for yourself, speak honestly and authentically. So definitely make sure that, you try to speak from the heart. The visa officers heard a lot of different stories, right? A lot of different students probably that have come by, and tried to do the same thing that you're doing. And they'll definitely be able to kind of micro-interpret everything you do and just kind of micro-study you because they've heard it all before. So they'll know, I assume, if you're going to be dishonest, right? They'll know if you're going to lie. They know if you're not being honest with them. They've seen that. So try to be as honest as you can. Be authentic to yourself. Take this information that we're providing you in this webinar, the information about our location, the information about Valpo, all these little tidbits that we're giving you, right? Definitely absorb that so that you can know what you're studying and know your career goals and how Valparaiso University is going to help you achieve those. Don't know that, then you need to talk to us before your interview. And you definitely need to hear from us how this will help. Hopefully you've already done that, right? Do your research. You're a student. You're studying, right? That's what you're here to do. That's what you're going to do after you get your visa. So do your homework, look us up, study our website, study the majors, study kind of the benefits, the rankings, all these different things, and be sure to use those to your advantage in your visa interview. And be brief and be positive. So definitely be optimistic, be enthusiastic. This visa is your ticket to a massive experience that many people do not get to have. Not everybody gets to study in the United States. We do have a lot of international students in the United States, but compared to all the people who probably love to be here studying, it's just a drop in the bucket. So definitely take this opportunity and be as enthusiastic about it as you can. And then just look at what we're saying about why Valpo, the location that we've discussed, all the different benefits, the opportunities for students to be a part of campus, to be involved, the resources we provide with the Office of International Programs, with our Career Center, the counselors who work with you, like Jess or like me, who really care about you, who talk to you personally, try to answer every question you have. All these different things are parts of this narrative of why to study at Valpo. So we can provide you with as much as we can. That's one of the reasons why we have these webinars. But you're also going to have to absorb this like a sponge and then be able to share it back when you go to your visa interview. I've talked a lot. Does Andrew or Jess, you want to jump in here? I don't want to hog the mic here, so to speak.
I think that's good. You know, just really know your story for why you want to come to Valpo. You know, everyone has a different reason in a sense. I mean, in the sense we're all the same, but you know, everyone does have different you know, particular reasons why they want to come. You know, when I came to Valpo, I actually came as a student as well, kind of like you all. I was actually in China teaching English. And so I came back to the US. Of course, I'm a US citizen, so I didn't have to get a visa, but I would have had similar, you know, reasons and kind of a similar story that you would have had. I was looking for, I was feeling the need for something to help me, something to help me progress in my career. And so I thought, you know, a master's degree would be good. Valpo was a little bit of a random place for me. I didn't have a lot of friends in Valpo, didn't have much experience in the area, but I connected with the program, and I actually emailed an alumni who had very good communication with me, and he had a really good job, and he had done the major that I was interested in. And so that really was probably the reason why I came, because he showed me how I could use that degree in a career in the future. And so I won't go into everything now, but that was probably my reason for coming. It could help me in my career further. So just know your story and be comfortable in that.
That's right. And you know, some of the other things that come up, right? People are going to ask you, how will you pay for your studies? So you probably demonstrated your funding during the application process. So I hope you have that ready to explain if you're being sponsored, who's going to sponsor you, who is remaining in your home country. Think about, you know, it's okay. We get this question a lot. You say, well, I have somebody in America already. Should I mention them? The number one advice we always give is be honest, you know, because if they seem to sense that you're being dishonest about a question they ask, then that's probably going to be a reason for them to reject your application for a visa, right? So definitely be honest, be transparent. Don't be transparent to the point of saying, I'd love to live in the United States. I hope I can stay there after I get there, because that's not going to help. The number one rejection for visas is going to be they suspect you're trying to immigrate to the United States. So don't let them think that, right? That's not going to be the point. Now, of course, lots of students go on, they get, you know, other visas when they get here, they get opportunities, and it's a great story. And maybe that is ultimately your dream, and that might happen too, but that's not the purpose of the visa you're getting right now. So you have to keep that in mind as you interview for your F1 visa, if that's what you're pursuing. And then what do you plan? Oh,
you know, I think you can be completely honest, even if, you know, you dreamed about, you know, living long-term in the US, that's fine. We all dream about things. But you are getting an F1 visa to study in the US. So you can be 100% honest with that. You, for whatever reason, are, you know, feeling the need to go abroad and to, you know, get this degree for your career, you know, for your future. So that's what you're doing right now. And then you do have completely out in the open, you have 1 to 3 years after you graduate that you can still be on the F1 student visa, and you can get experience in your field. You can work in your field. That's called OPT. Depending on the major, it's 1 to 3 years. So you can also mention that, you know, I plan to come to the US and get this degree for my career, and then I plan to get some experience and, you know, really learn more about what I'm studying and put that into practice for 1 to 3 years on OPT. So you can be 100% honest about that.
And let's see, we got some questions here that I think are probably good to address at this point too. Somebody mentioned how on their I-20, what they see as far as the program is a little bit different from what they were admitted to. So if you were admitted to international economics and finance, you see econometrics and quantitative economics. So there is a distinction there, and I don't know if Andrew, you want to explain, but we do go by what is called the SIP code on the I-20.
Yeah. So that's the easy one. Valparaiso University designated this code, this official government code. I forgot what it is exactly, 45 something. And this code is what matches the Valpo degree of international economics and finance. So the registrar's office, the office at Valpo that makes the course program schedule and everything, they have designated that the international economics finance coursework matches this government code of 45 point something. And so when this code prints out on the I-20, the automatic printout is quantitative, quantitative econometrics or something like that. So the name is slightly different, but it matches what Valpo has decided for the IEF, the International Economics Finance degree. So totally fine, shouldn't be an issue.
So there's a lot of universities in the United States, and a lot of times the names for the different degrees and programs will be just a little bit different, but the government has a standardized list of kind of categories that then we put on the forms for I-20s, right? So that's why there are differences in there, because all kinds of universities may have programs that are similar and call them something different here and there, and they may change the names of the programs. So the government just keeps it kind of standardized with those categories. And somebody asked a good question here about registering for classes. I know at the graduate level, and Jes can speak to the undergrad here, but I know at the grad level, we've recently been able to extend registration before arrival. So once you get your visa, you will get further instructions, and you can go ahead and start the process of speaking with your advisor, planning your courses, and even registering before you arrive. So as long as you have your visa, highly recommend you do that, right? Get those steps out of the way. It's one less thing to worry about when you get here, so you can spend more time settling in and preparing for studies. Of course, if you get here and you want to register then, that's fine too, but it is something you can do in advance now.
Just a quick note about the question regarding the pre-arrival checklist on iValpo. You're totally fine. We actually don't really go over that. The e-forms that you submit, I mean, I do check them, but I don't click approved on it until you actually come to orientation. So no worries, it'll still be impending until you arrive on campus.
And Jes, I don't know how does it work for undergrads in registration?
Yes, so once our undergraduate students either determine that Valpo is where they want to be this fall, or even in January, we encourage students to submit their enrollment deposit or their enrollment form, and to also register for all student orientation on August 19th. So international student orientation is August 16th, and all student orientation is August 19th. Following those two steps, an academic advisor in their area of study will contact them and via email to help and assist in the registration for courses ahead of being on campus in August. Should there not be enough time to be contacted or kind of coordinate a time to do registration virtually, you'll be registered for classes when you arrive. So we'll still be here to take care of you, no problem. But if you do want to get registered for classes before your arrival, you do have to complete those two steps.
Yeah, so on those dates, right, there they are on the screen here for fall 2022. Your international orientation starts August 16th. So really try to be on campus for that. It's mandatory, right? We want you to be there. And it's really benefits you to be there and to be at all of the orientation sessions. So there are big reasons why we do this, right? Lots of different reasons. Of course, for international, you have to check in. to campus. Very important step, right? So that's why it's the first one. First thing you do, get here, check in with the OIP orientation, and they're going to go over all kinds of great information. I don't know if you want to give a sneak preview, Andrew, but
Yeah, so it's really important that you're here on August 16th to check in with your passport, because that is part of your immigration compliance, that, you know, when you come to the US, you need to check in at your university. And so obviously, if your visa interview is on August 16th, I mean, that's fine. You can come as soon as you get your visa. But, you know, if you're in the US, which we hope you are by that time, then it is mandatory to come on August 16th and check in with your passport. And, you know, I've been pulling some lists, as I talked about earlier, and just looking at numbers of students that have come to Valpo in recent years. And, you know, I've probably seen a couple thousand come, you know, in my 8 years working here. And I think the ones that miss orientation, especially the ones that willfully miss it, you know, just say, oh, I don't need to go. You know, those are the students that often have problems. You know, problems adjusting to campus, you know, problems getting in with their classes and their professors and registering and learning how things function and all of that. So it really is extremely important that students make a point of coming. Also, connections with other students. A lot of friendships are made. We're hoping to have, hard to know exactly, but somewhere around 150 new international students in this August semester. So this is an incredible time to make friends and connect with all your fellow classmates at that time. Did you have, Ryan, a slide later, I can't remember, about the arrival, like the transportation and all that?
Yeah, I believe that's the next one.
Okay, I'll just hold on. Okay. Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot here.
Okay. Yeah, if I could say something. So you should have all received 3 emails so far. They all start with the title "Coming to Valparaiso." The first one was general information. Second one was about housing, I believe. Third one was about health. The fourth one is going to be next week, and it's going to talk about travel tips to Valpo. So the air part is pretty straightforward. I mean, you need to fly into most likely O'Hare International Airport, again, one of, if not at some point in the past, the biggest airports in the world. So it should be pretty easy to find a direct flight into O'Hare International Airport. But then things get a little tricky. So you need to find a way to get from O'Hare to Valpo. And so the next email will have information about that. So I won't go into it too much right now. That email should come out next week. So there's several ways. Again, the email will have more information. There is a shuttle that recently started from O'Hare to a town right next to Valpo called Portage. And that is one of the best ways to get from the airport to Valpo. And on August 14 and 15, so mark that, August 14 and 15, in the afternoon to evening, there will be 3 shuttles from O'Hare to Valpo through this particular company, and Valpo will run another shuttle from Valpo to Portage and pick you up at the station. So that is a pretty easy way to get from the airport to the campus. It's a pretty direct way. You don't have to make lots of transitions and all that kind of thing. So the complete details will be in the email coming out next week.
Yeah. And of course, you know, there's always ways to get from Chicago to Valpo. The more money you spend, the easier it will be. The less money you want to spend, the more complicated it might be, or the more time it might take. You know, you can always Uber or taxi from the airport. That can be a little pricey. So there are other options here we mentioned, like the bus or the train even. And the train can be a little complicated too. You got a couple different stops you got to make. But there's always a way to get here, and every student makes the journey and every student makes it here. We haven't had a case yet, I think, of a student getting completely lost and just never showing up because they just couldn't find it, right? So,
one ththing I mentioned about that, if your flight is going to get in really late, I know sometimes you don't have much control over that, right? Just the time it gets in. So if it's going to get in really late, maybe 10, 11, midnight, you probably would want to stay in a hotel at the airport and come the next day, because it's just not very convenient. I lived in China and Japan, as you know, and transportation is so convenient in many places around the world. So that's one thing about the US. I wish I was in China or Japan sometimes. But anyway, there are ways, but if you come really late, you may want to stay in a hotel at the airport.
In the United States, we have a much more individualized, culture driven by the automobile. Right. So we kind of assume all Americans will have automobiles, and a lot of people come from countries where public transportation is such a bigger thing. So you still see public transportation, and Valparaiso University has public transportation. We have a bus that drives around campus, drives around town, called the V Line. And as students, you have access to that as a resource. It's a really nice thing to have. So, there's public transportation here, but you're not going to find a whole lot of that kind of bigger networks of public transportation that transports you all over the place. But anyway, there are always options, and like Andrew said, there will be some information forthcoming about that. So I think, right now I'm going to go ahead and just provide a short, briefer tour of our new graduate student housing option. So we have had feedback from a lot of graduate students. Now, undergrad students, right, typically live on campus, or there are other options here for them. But for our graduate students, historically, we've not had housing on campus for them. It's not generally been something that we made available to them. But there has been demand recently for it. Housing prices have gone up a bit. There's a lot of demand for housing, so it's kind of hard to get into places sometimes. And we had students who had this experience before. So what we're doing here is making available an opportunity for students to live on campus, graduate students, in Alumni Hall, which is where I am presently. And so I think right now I'm going to go ahead and do a little walk around. Let me see here. Actually, maybe if I just go ahead and use the laptop here, I might do that. Stop sharing and just go straight to camera.
Well, Ryan works on that with our undergraduate students. You can reside on campus. If you're under the age of 22, you're required to live on campus for 3 years. The housing option that Ryan will be showing is very similar, if not identical, to our incoming freshman resident halls. So you can definitely still use this information as to get a glimpse into your living accommodations on campus. If you are over 22, you do have the option to reside off campus. So this information still pertains to undergrad.
Yep. So I'm walking here into one of our common areas. This is actually a really lovely spot here. The motion lighting turning on over here. So this is just kind of a little hangout space. There are tables here where you can, play games. Of course, there are televisions also located in this room here. Lovely couch, lovely seating arrangements. You could easily fit a whole crowd of people here. And then just outside the window here is our lovely campus. And this position right here, it really gives you a great walking distance to the Union, probably to many of the buildings where your classes would be for most of our international grad students. And it's a lovely campus. It's over 300 acres all told, which I forget how many that is in hectares. Andrew, do you know offhand?
I'm not sure I've learned that connection. I'm pretty good with temperature, like Fahrenheit, Celsius, but not sure about hectares.
But anyway, it's a very large campus, and so there are many buildings around. This lovely room here even has a piano for any musically inclined students who want to go ahead and rattle on the key a bit. But some of the great amenities in this building include not only just the common spaces, there's one on each floor, but you also have laundry. We're about to walk into the study space, which has actually been recently renovated. So say you're meeting with your students, you know, you have lovely spaces here to just kind of make the most out of the boards here, whiteboards. It's very comfortable. They're actually very well lit. Lovely sliding boards. I don't know if anybody's doing presentations, needs to write things out in front of everybody, move them around. Also a computer lab in the building, which is actually pretty convenient. A lot of students do have laptops these days, but we also make sure that you have access to a computer and of course the equipment as well. So print out reports, print out work assignments just before class. You should be able to make it down here, I think. This is the building we're moving in, so you got several stations here to work from. There's even a conference room. So if you want to take some time out, practice presentations. So some of our international students, actually all of our international students at the grad level, take Grad 500, which is an introductory course, part of orientation. And one of the things you do is make a presentation. So you practice here, pull up your slides, this even before you go to the class and actually take care of it, right? So there's another campus right next to a number of other residence halls. I don't know if you can see out there, but there have been some students who were playing. I saw students playing Frisbee out there earlier. So a lot of students on campus tend to hang out over here. There's lots of trees, lovely grass areas. I don't live in alumni myself, so walking around here, trying to remember where you go for everything, but I'm gonna go take us over to the kitchen, I believe. Let's see. Cookie walking around the building, I tell you by myself. It'll be a much more engaging experience when there's garbage cans in there. When there are actually students in this building in the fall. Oh, here's the and okay, here we go. Staircase. Yeah. Friends, eat, have meals. There's a pool table. Here, when you're making food, don't put food on this lovely velvet surface. Meant for food to play. Now there are a couple of refrigerators here. So you do have refrigerators to use. There are mini fridges in every dorm room. So you do have a lovely amenity there too. Sinks, ranges, 3 ovens. And there will be lots of cooking equipment that will be available to you to rent, although a lot of students do just eventually buy their own. And very cheap, actually. Easy to go down to Walmart or a local store and buy your own cooking pans and things like that. So that's what we recommend you do. Having common meals here. One thing I would recommend is definitely be sure to pick up after yourself and clean. Here's our laundry. This is free. Something students have to think about is it does cost money often if you're living in an apartment to get your laundry done. but at Valpo, you have access to these at any time. Just go ahead, plenty of them. You should have easy opportunity anytime you do need to wash clothes or sheets or anything like that. And there are QR codes here. So you scan the QR code, and I'm told that it tells you when your laundry's done. Pretty good deal. Now, I don't think I'm actually going to go up to a dorm room this time because I don't know if they've prepared one for us, but we didn't talk about this, but there are private spaces here for any students who wish to pray. There are spaces here to do that.
One of the questions that just came in is, when a student just arrives, is there an accommodation maybe for a week or so before they figure out their final accommodation? And that is a perfect question for what Ryan is talking about. This alumni hall option does have a short-term kind of a transitional option as well. And so that can be, I think the maximum is about 2 weeks, but that is the perfect place to stay while you get your long-term housing figured out, whether it's an alumni or elsewhere.
And, I'd say, I know we've had questions from students where to stay before they are able to move into housing. So the move-in date is the 15th of August, which is the same date that Andrew shared as far as travel, right? So you should be able to just get in there if you want on the same day you travel, if that's your day. If you're going to be arriving earlier, let us know. There are opportunities. We can work to see if we can find a place for you on campus if you don't have a location. If you are in hotels, and I believe we still have to deal with a local hotel to give a discount on hotel accommodations. Is that right, Andrew?
Yes, the hotel right next to campus, it's a very nice one. It's called Country Inn and Suites. And that one, I think normally is 100 to 120 per night. And the discount is, it's either 80 or 85 per night. So a good discount on that. If you tell them that you're a new international student arriving at Valpo, they'll give you this discount.
Photo of one of the dorm rooms. So they're nice, lovely little spaces. You can have a single room option where it's just you to yourself. Or if you want to split the cost, you can get a double and share the room with another student. There's a microwave in every room, in every campus. Very comfy rooms, storage in there for suitcases, all kinds of things that you need, right? And we have these different options, like a transitional option. If you just a little bit, you need a place to stay for a semester, you want to try it out, or if you want to commit to the entire academic year, you can do that too. So it's a whole lot of flexibility with these options, and it's a very affordable rate. So I think, for sharing a room with another student, if you commit to a longer term, like the academic year or annually, you're going to pay $400 a month USD, and that includes all those amenities I mentioned. So all the heat, all kinds of things that you normally pay for separately or as additional charges in apartment living or townhome living, it's all included, fresh as well, right? So very affordable, very competitive with single bedroom living situation, Valpo, that you would be looking into. And of course, you can't beat the location. You're located right on campus. You're within walking distance of a couple different shopping centers. You're located within walking distance of downtown Valpo. And you're right here at the heart of campus. So you can walk to the Union, to a lot of the other buildings, and really get that experience, be able to experience all of it, right? And just a short. So I highly recommend this option for any student looking into it.
It's really nice and warm and beautiful in Valpo right now, but it will get cold. And don't be afraid of that either. People have different opinions. I like the snow. I really do. so beautiful, but it's not fun to walk in. So nothing better than a close walk and not having to worry about transportation in the deep snow. So
I think for an international student, if you're not used to snow, you know, just the time you spend studying here might be enough to just enjoy it for the, you know, couple years that you get it in winter. For those of us who've been here our entire lives, maybe, and if had snow every winter, it gets a little tiresome, but it is lovely in the winter. You get all those 4 seasons right in Valpo. You get the heat of summer, you know, and all the lush foliage and the blooms, and you also get to experience that winter environment too. The winter wonderland that we usually get every December and January and February. So yeah, it's a students here. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out. Everybody should have been sent instructions on how to apply. So if you need those instructions again, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to provide them to you. But there is just a form at this point that people are filling out, a Google form. So the option is out there. I'm here to address some questions. We received one about graduate assistantships. So we do have a limited number of assistantships generally every academic year, right? And students do not generally apply for them in advance. So once you are a student, usually in your second semester, if there are assistantships available in your program, you'll have an opportunity to kind of ask about those and apply for any that show up. And so there are a few, there aren't a whole lot, largely because we keep these class sizes small, so professors do their own teaching, they do their own thing. But there's all kinds of opportunities to get involved. You can be a student worker, you can, you know, apply for the TA or RA positions when they do show up. A lot of professors you get student to lecture ratio. That's a good question. I think we normally say our class sizes average around maybe 15 to 20 students per instructor. I don't know about the overall university, what the ratio of students to instructors is, but I would say on the class size basis, at least, you know, our class sizes are normally capped around 20 students. And generally they're going to be smaller than that. But of course, some classes will be right at the cap and maybe bursting out in some cases.
not sure the exact number, but I think it's somewhere around 15 to 1. Is that right, Jess?
14 to 1.
14 to 1, okay.
Yeah, it fluctuates between 13 to 14. So 13 or 14 students to each professor. But it's still relatively small, which I think is really nice for students who really want to engage in their learning and make connections, have mentors, and have relationships with their faculty members and their peers. It's a really great space to be able to cultivate those relationships.
Yeah. Then let's see here. So the student who asked about seeing the rooms, I know we shared a photo there, and I think Jess linked to some things as well. And there is also a couple videos now. There's a video on the Alumni Hall website, and you can also find on our YouTube channel. And then one of the invites I sent this week, I also shared our previous webinar, and that was the June webinar where I did actually walk into one of the dorm rooms and show what it was like. So you can probably pull that up if you want, find that video, and I'll probably share it out again if anybody's curious, and you can get another view of a dorm. Let's see, the current president of Valpo, Jose Padilla, President Padilla. He's been president for a year now, taking over from the long tenure of Mark Heckler, and really great president. Really interested in the students, interested in the future of Valpo, really committed, and very approachable, actually, and relatable. The exact process of getting visa approval. Well, I can't tell you how exactly it's going to work in your case, but we did give lots of great advice about what to do to pass your visa interview, what to do to prepare for it. And hopefully, take all this advice with you. Watch this webinar again. We'll upload it to YouTube within a week or two after this presentation here, and do your studying and hopefully get your visa approved. So as far as the health form for international students, so if you've been admitted as an international student, and at some stage there, I don't know if it's at the point of admission or at the point of confirmation, but you will get an email and you'll get a link to your status page. And there's going to be a checklist item there. It's going to say health requirements. And so you click on that and it gives you a PDF with the instructions that you'll need to create an account on the health portal, and then submit things like vaccinations, statuses, and other things like that that you need to put in. And if you follow all the instructions in that PDF, the health people will get everything from you and they'll actually do something, they'll change some things in the system, and you'll see that checklist requirement be satisfied. So you will get feedback there if you've done everything right. Highly recommend you do all of that in advance before you arrive, because you can do it remotely. It's something you can do just by going to your status page and finding that form. But yeah, getting it done earlier is a whole lot better than later, because you don't want to get here, arrive, be in your classes and find out you can't register, you can't prepare for your next semester because they're waiting on immunizations from you, right? Or some kind of detail that you didn't provide to the health center. So our ranking as regards the Faculty of Nursing, we're definitely highly ranked university overall, and our nursing programs are some of the oldest in the state of Indiana. So we're very highly reputable, definitely in any top rankings. Don't have any off the top of my head, but we're definitely a highly reputable nursing program. Anybody in the region knows about the College of Nursing and Health Professions, and it's one of those aspects of Valpo where, as far as our reputation goes, a lot of people think about Valpo as being a great nursing school. Let's see.
I just put a link in the chat to an article that came out. It was last fall, so October 2021, but just talking about the Valpo Nursing School rankings.
There, thank you, Andrew. We had to defer admissions. When is the next semester and what is likely to happen with secured student loans? So if you have to defer your admission, reach out to us and we can confirm what the next semester would be. For a lot of programs, it is spring, and so it's January. Some programs have cohorts, and so they'll only start in the fall. So it may be fall for your program, depending. But a lot of our programs do have starts in January in our spring semester. If your course is health administration, Mercy, just go ahead and send me an email. I know somebody else asked about that exactly same program. So I'm definitely going to be finding that information and providing it in a nice bulleted form for you. And as far as expenses go, which is a really good question here. So I think on the I-20, we list your tuition expenses, and that's pretty straightforward because we don't have a whole lot of miscellaneous fees at Valpo. You just generally pay your tuition and a general fee each semester. And I know when I've done research on other universities that they'll often have, some have a whole host of fees, international student fees and other kind of unique things that they charge the students with, and that can amount to a sizable cost. So you'll find that it's a little bit more transparent with us at Valpo. You're gonna pay upfront what your tuition price is, you're gonna see that, you're gonna see your general charge. Living expenses are things you have to take into account, and your I-20 does mention what they project your living expenses to be through the year, which I don't know, what is the amount, Andrew, that they?
Yeah, so the good thing about your I-20 is that is the estimate for everything. I mean, maybe it doesn't include, a flight ticket back home or something like that, but the tuition's there for the IT and let's see, most of the majors is about 16,000. It's a little higher for health admin. For the MBA, I think it's about 20,000 or 23,000 for one academic year. So that's the tuition. And then there's the living. Everyone gets either, I think, 15 or 16,000. 16 is for the undergrad, 15 for the grad. So this is the estimated cost of living, including housing, insurance, daily necessities, food, whatever, all your basic expenses for 9 months. That's the academic year. So, sometimes students might spend more. Many times students actually will spend less than that. So that's our estimate. We feel like it's a pretty good estimate. Again, as I said, many students will actually live more cheaply than that, but about 16,000. So that's about 1,600 per month that you can pretty much estimate for your broad expenses. Again, not going to include a flight ticket back home, but for pretty much everything here in the US. So that's a very clear estimate right there on your I-20.
Yeah, and that's the comfortable estimate. So that's like, you definitely, if you have that, if you can't afford that, you're going to make it just fine. But a lot of students do wind up saving more money on living expenses. They save money on meals. One of the things I didn't mention with this housing option on campus is a meal plan is built into it. So included in the low cost already is the opportunity to have 50 meals at our campus cafeteria, and then an extra $50 to spend at the 3 different other food stations on campus. So you have the opportunity there to already build in some of your meal expenses. A lot of students will share meals, right? And there's a large kitchen in alumni for any students who live there. So yeah, a lot of students wind up finding out that you can, live for a lot less than we actually publish. But we want to make sure that students are aware that, there's still a cost here, there's still a cost associated, and that's what you can expect to spend, to comfortably run this experience if you don't have those cost saving measures, right? Now, a student was talking about 38,000 being the estimated cost for 9 months of study. That's right, for the MBA program. The MBA costs total $30,000 in tuition. So that's the total tuition cost for MBA. So if you split it down to, 9 months of study, and then, 1 semester off, and then you throw in the living expenses, it comes out to about 38,000. So that's what it says on your I-20, and that's about right, I believe. So that's, what we're projecting if you're going to be an MBA student. The tuition is a little higher in the College of Business because it's not uncommon for MBA programs actually, because since you're being taught by faculty members who are providing that much more valuable business experience, it's something that costs a little bit more to actually obtain. A lot of those professors would probably make a whole lot of money in the private sector if they wanted to work in it. So, you got to pay them a little bit more to teach in MBA programs. MBA programs get a little more expensive. But overall, our MBA program is actually one of the most affordable that you'll find. And it's nice too that you're able to kind of condense all that study into a single year, so that you can zip through the program if you want to full time and go straight into work experience and also have your MBA. I know a lot of international students are more interested these days in kind of accelerating their studies and getting straight to the work experience. And so the MBA program is the perfect example of that because it's so accelerated already. And
so the cost of living is pretty straightforward. And so I think that's one thing that's a real advantage to you. You can know what you'll pay, basically. There'll be a little differences here and there, but tuition is set. And then, if you estimate $1,500, $1,600 per month for living expenses, that's what you're going to need to pay while you're here in Valpo.
Yep. And as far as, how you pay for it or when you pay for it, tuition for each semester is usually due at the start of the semester. You won't know exactly what the cost is probably going to be until you're registered for courses, because you might register for 9 credits, you might register for 12, or maybe some other kind of number around that point. It's still full time. So once you register for courses, then your bill will be finalized and you'll pay for that semester. It's usually due all up front, but there are payment plans. A lot of students will do the payment plans and they'll pay through the semester. And then by the end of the semester, they'll have that semester paid off, and then they start the new semester and then they pay for that one. So that's generally how it works. So it's actually pretty easily doable. It's not like you have to have a whole ton of cash up front. Of course, like with everybody, if you do have a ton of cash up front, we'll happily accept it. I will happily personally accept it. Just kidding. As far as health insurance goes, I think the cost is what, 120 to 150, Andrew, per month?
Yeah, I think the new rates for this coming year are, I think it's about 140. I think the estimate I put on there is about 150. So yeah, 140, 150 per month for the mandatory insurance, unless you're an exchange student or have some scholarship or government scholarship. I was going to say something. What was it? I'll think of it in a second.
So we talked a little bit about the 50-50 meal plan. And just to elaborate on that a little bit, because I think it's a really great plan and I highly, encourage people. I've had some students say, well, can I just not do the meal plan and save money? I don't recommend you do. It's such a good plan for you actually, because it allows you to go to the cafe here, and we have this huge cafeteria with all these different food stations. So there's always a whole lot of variety in what's on offer. And there are options for students who have dietary restrictions as well. And, you get to go to the union 50 times during the semester, and you swipe your card and you can eat as much as you want. And, have a really nice meal there and be able to, eat it in a lovely place in Founders Cafeteria. And it's a great experience. It puts you into campus, right? You are having an on-campus experience, which to me, it's great to have meals with your friends too. But what we want for international students is for them to really be integrated into campus. So we highly encourage students to do things like this, take advantage of opportunities like this to go, eat at the cafeteria, talk to other students, mingle with other students, even if you're just going there to visit the building, really, It's a lovely building. Make sure you take full advantage of that you go there often, right? And this is a great reason to go there, to go have a meal. So you get to do that 50 times during the semester. And then you have an additional $50 that you can drop at. There's a little cafe place in our library. There's another one, I believe, in Gellerson Hall here. So there's a couple other locations. There's another location in the union itself where you can just take your card. You got $50 to spend on it. Get a coffee or get something else, get a cookie when you're out at one of these other locations, right? So it's a little bit of way of, just kind of building in some funds so that you can spend money on campus, have access to food. We want to make sure every international student has an opportunity to, or at least has access to eat during the semester. And it's the cheapest plan we have. So that's why we made that one the one we integrated into our graduate housing option. There are more expensive plans. So if you find you like it, you can always upgrade. You can add more money to it. And I do recommend that, taking advantage of that to the full extent possible.
I thought of what I was going to say. So for undergrad students, the cost structures may be a little different. There's a certain range. Of course, Jes is the expert on that, but for taking 12 to whatever it is, 19, 18 credits, it's the same tuition cost, right?
Correct. So students at the undergraduate side are awarded academic merit scholarship upon acceptance if you're selected, and that covers credits between 12 and 18 per semester. So you must maintain at least 12 credits to be full-time status to be eligible for your F1 visa.
Yeah. And then also, I just wanted to highlight, you will not be able to register for the next semester until you pay your balance for that semester that you're in. So if you come in August and for fall 2022, usually students register for spring 2023 sometime in, I don't know what it is, November, sometime around then, but you will not be able to register if you have not paid the balance at that time. Of course, I'm not saying that that's the deadline to pay your tuition. No, the deadline is by the start of classes, definitely. But the there's a restriction on continuing on your studies if you have not paid off your bill by that time.
And again, the health form, you'll find it on your Slate status page, your application status page. So the same place you would go to upload documents or to check to see, you know, what the status of the materials are. That's where you'll find the health requirements. And so you just click on the PDF there, it'll be hyperlinked, and then that will give you all the instructions you need. So just follow those instructions and you'll be able to satisfy the health requirements. And on MBA, it is not STEM currently, but actually the College of Business is very interested in making MBA STEM. So I know they're working a lot right now to redesign some courses and to offer a STEM option for international students. I know that is a very attractive option. Whether it's STEM or not, you still have the option for OPT. So the question is just whether you can do the STEM extension for OPT. So I will say that, you know, even if it's not STEM, it's still a really great opportunity for international students. There are going to be really great outcomes for that program. So it's highly recommended. And you're taught by some of the best faculty at Valpo, very accomplished international faculty in the College of Business. So they have a lot of different experiences, perspectives, and kind of networking that they can share with you. And so it is a great course. It's a challenging course, but it's a very good course. And, you know, definitely it's one of these things that, you know, not many international students know about it yet. There have been international students in the program, but I feel like if they really found out just how valuable that program is, that they'd soon flood it. And we have seen a major uptick in interest in that in the last semester or two. All right. Well, we're reaching our time allotment here, and I know we've got a lot of great questions. So I'm going to go ahead and call it on this webinar. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate all the questions. We're excited for everybody and very hopeful to see you here on campus. If not this fall, then hopefully in a future term. And if you have any questions that we didn't get to, if you have anything that you need help with, like I said, there were a couple there that I said email personally. But here are our contact options too, for undergrad and for grad. So definitely reach out to us if you have any questions, and keep us updated on your progress as you schedule your visa interviews, as you go to your visa interviews, whatever happens, just keep us posted, keep us updated.
Yeah, really excited to see all of you at some point, hopefully in about a month. Pretty crazy, but in about a month, or if you come in the spring. So it's our favorite time of year, you know, the orientation time. We get to meet everyone. So really looking forward to it.
And well, hope everybody here has a wonderful day, and I hope you all found this very valuable. This is the last of our webinars for fall. So I'm sorry to say, you know, the next time I will see many of you, hopefully, will be on campus in person at orientation. So we'll hopefully see you then. If you're not able to make it this fall, probably see you again on a future webinar, I hope. We'll be starting our spring webinars sometime later this year. So keep posted, pay close attention to your emails. Andrew's got more pre-arrival messages that are going to be coming out soon. So we're going to share with you helpful information to your emails. Be sure you're monitoring those. And we wish you the best of luck with your visa interviews and with your travels, and hopefully with your future studying at Valpo.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, everybody.
Thanks for joining. We'll hope to see you soon.
See you in August.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.